In 2026, a Filipino group is scheduled to walk onto the stage at Lollapalooza, one of America's biggest music festivals. They'll do it without a major U.S. record label, without a giant marketing budget, and while singing proudly in their own language. This isn't a lucky break. It's the result of a perfectly executed plan. SB19 is using a strategy so powerful, it's making them a force the industry can't control or ignore. But what if the secret to their global takeover isn't just their talent? What if it's a formula that combines total independence with a fan base so dedicated it can bypass the entire system? In this video, we break down the secret formula that the music industry is now scrambling to understand. For decades, the global music industry has operated on a simple, unbreakable rule. Success means breaking into the West, and breaking into the West meant getting a deal with a massive American or European record label. These companies were the gatekeepers. They owned the radio networks, the distribution channels, and the marketing budgets. For an act from Southeast Asia, the path was even narrower. You either signed away your control, or you stayed a local champion. This was the world SB19 was born into. Trained under a Korean entertainment company, but determined to pioneer a new genre, P-pop, they faced a wall of indifference. In the Philippines, they were seen as a K-pop imitation. To the rest of the world, they were invisible. The industry wasn't just ignoring them. The system wasn't even designed to acknowledge they existed. The pressure was immense. In their early days, the group was on the verge of disbandment. They struggled with a lack of resources and faced skepticism from an industry that didn't know what to do with them. The members, Pablo, Josh, Stel, Ken, and Justin, were pushing a heavy boulder uphill, trying to create a space for Pinoy pop in a market saturated with Western and Korean acts. The odds weren't just long, they were non-existent. The problem wasn't their talent or their work ethic. The problem was the system itself, a locked door, and they didn't have the key. It seemed like their story would end right there, just another talented group crushed by an industry that had no place for them. Then came the moment that changed everything. It wasn't a high-budget music video or a major label push. It was a simple dance practice video for a song called Go Up, uploaded to YouTube. The video was raw, unfiltered, and showed off their electric synchronization and explosive energy. It was pure talent, with no industry gloss, and it went viral. This wasn't a manufactured moment. It was completely organic. It was the fans, captivated by the group's skill and story, who shared it, tweeted it, and launched it across the internet. The go-up phenomenon was the first crack in the wall. It proved that SB19 didn't need the traditional gatekeepers to get noticed. They had found a direct line to their audience, one that bypassed the industry entirely. This moment laid the groundwork for their entire philosophy. If the system won't let you in, build your own. And it revealed the first two ingredients of their secret formula: unapologetic talent and a fan base willing to fight for them. The Go Up video was more than a viral hit. It was proof of concept. It showed them that the real power wasn't in the boardrooms of major labels, but in the hands of the people streaming their songs and sharing their videos. As SB19's popularity exploded, they made a move that many would call career suicide, but it turned out to be their smartest one yet. They left their management company and established their own, 1Z Entertainment. This was their declaration of independence. With their leader, Pablo, as CEO, the group seized complete control over their music, their brand, and their destiny. This is called self-governance, and in an industry built on control, it's a radical act. By creating 1Z, SB19 became their own bosses. They no longer needed a suit's approval to experiment with their sound, letting them make music that was unapologetically Filipino, without anyone telling them it wouldn't sell. They could direct their own music videos, write their own songs, and build their brand with total authenticity. As Pablo has said, Wanmanzi was created to challenge the industry and promote Filipino culture. And that's a terrifying thought for the traditional music business. The old model depends on artists surrendering huge chunks of creative control and revenue in exchange for a label's resources. SB19's success proves that independence isn't a limitation anymore. It's a strategic advantage. It allows them to be agile, respond directly to their fans, and build a long-term vision without the pressure of quarterly profit reports. Now, they're even expanding that vision by training the next generation of Filipino artists, building an entire ecosystem outside the established system. One-Zed Entertainment isn't just a company. It's a statement. It's proof that artists can own their success. And in doing so, they become a force the industry can't possibly control. The second, and maybe the most critical pillar of SB19's formula, is their fan base, 18. Calling them a fan base is a massive understatement. 18 operates less like passive listeners and more like a highly organized, decentralized global marketing agency. They get that, in today's music world, data is power. Chart positions, streaming numbers, and social media metrics are the languages the industry speaks. So, they became fluent. ATIN functions with military precision. They don't just trend hashtags, they sustain them for days, keeping SB19 a fixture on Billboard's social charts. Their song, Bazinga, set a record for its incredibly long run at #1 on Billboard's Hot Trending Songs chart, at one point surpassing BTS's Butter for the most weeks at the top. They organize coordinated streaming parties with a deep understanding of how algorithms work, focusing on high retention rates and platform engagement. This isn't just passion, it's sophisticated digital strategy. This global force is what lets SB19 bypass traditional marketing. Why pay for a billboard in Times Square when your fans will crowdfund one for you? This mobilization is earned, not forced. It comes from a genuine two-way connection. The members of SB19 are deeply involved with their fans, creating a sense of shared ownership in their journey. When fans feel like active partners instead of just consumers, their support transforms into powerful advocacy. ATIN isn't just supporting a band. They are partners in a movement, building an infrastructure so powerful it can compete with, and often outperform, the multi-million-dollar marketing machines of major labels. They are the engine that makes the independent model not just viable but unstoppable. In a global market that often pressures artists to water themselves down, SB19's greatest weapon is their unwavering Filipino identity. Instead of erasing their culture for international appeal, they leaned into it, making their heritage the very core of their art. This is the third pillar of their formula: radical authenticity. Take their hit song Mapa. Released as a tribute to their parents, the title itself is a portmanteau of Mama and Papa. The song resonated so deeply with Filipinos that it became a cultural anthem, a heartfelt thank you that transcended generations. This wasn't a song made to chase trends. It was a song that spoke a universal truth from a uniquely Filipino perspective. When they performed it on the acclaimed Japanese YouTube channel, The First Take, they introduced this piece of their culture to a global audience in its purest, most powerful form. Then there's Gento. The title comes from a Filipino word meaning like this, but it also sounds like ginto, the word for gold. Packed with Filipino slang and cultural references, the song became a global viral sensation. K-pop idols and creators from around the world were doing the Gento dance challenge, often without even knowing the song's deep cultural roots. And that's the genius of their strategy. They make their culture so compelling that the world comes to them. They perform proudly in their own language and still land on international charts. They don't have to erase who they are to be successful. In fact, their identity is precisely why they are succeeding. They proved that authenticity isn't a barrier to global success. It's the key. With these three pillars in place, total independence, a fan-powered infrastructure, and radical authenticity, the global breakthrough was no longer a question of if, but when. The Gento effect was the culmination of their formula, the moment all their strategic efforts converged into a global explosion. But it wasn't just a one-time viral moment. It was the start of a new phase of calculated global expansion. Instead of waiting for an invitation, SB19 started creating demand. They built an unshakable foundation in the Philippines first, selling out massive venues like the Araneta Coliseum for their tour finales. This home-based dominance gave them the leverage to expand strategically. They targeted key regions. The Filipino diaspora in North America and the Middle East became a beachhead, while they made calculated entries into Asia's most competitive music markets, like Japan. Their performance at Japan's DUNK showcase and their collaboration with the J-pop group Be First weren't just guest appearances. They were strategic moves to earn industry respect. Now, in 2026, the industry is being forced to take notice. Their upcoming performance at Lollapalooza in Chicago is not a lucky break. It is the result of becoming too big to ignore. They forced the industry's hand. Their new album, Wakas at Simula, features collaborations with Taiwanese and Japanese pop royalty, signaling their intent to be a major player on the Asian and global stage. Their track, Wakas, recently hit the top 10 on the Billboard World Digital Song Sales chart. SB19 didn't just get a seat at the table, they proved they could build their own, and that their table was where the real innovation was happening. The SB19 story is more than the rise of a boy band. It's a case study in a new, fan-powered, and independent model for global success. They didn't just follow the rules of the music industry, they took the handbook and threw it away. By combining complete creative ownership through One Zed Entertainment, mobilizing ATEN as a global marketing force, and grounding their art in authentic Filipino culture, they've created a formula that is resilient, sustainable, and incredibly powerful. They've proven that artists from anywhere don't need to sacrifice their identity or their ownership to make a global impact. This isn't just a victory for P-pop. It's a paradigm shift for artists everywhere who have been told there's only one way to the top. SB19 is building a global legacy on their own terms, proving that the most dangerous thing you can be in the music industry today is completely, unapologetically, and strategically independent. What does SB19's success mean to you? And what's your favorite song of theirs that screams Pinoy pride? Let us know in the comments below.